Hello everyone, my name is Franklin and thanks for joining us today. Today we'll be looking at a very important operation in Excel called cell reference. And what is cell reference? Cell reference simply means the name given to the particular cell or a particular cell. It's either called cell reference or it's called cell address. Okay, it's called reference because we're making reference to a particular portion of your data set, right? So that is called a cell reference. And in Excel, we have three types of cell reference. We have relative cell reference, absolute cell reference, and then mixed cell reference, right? And the relative, that is the cell reference that moves with the formula, right? The cell reference that moves with the formula is called the relative cell reference. What does that mean? It simply means that whatever it is you do in a particular cell, the subsequent cells can replicate or can follow suit. Now in Excel, the relative cell reference is a natural feature in Microsoft Excel. That is why when you carry out an operation, you can autofill, right? Now there are some cases where you find out that when you carry out an operation, the subsequent cells do not follow. Alright? In such a situation, we say that the cell is no longer relative, it's now absolute. So absolute cell reference simply means a cell reference that does not follow or does not go with the formula. While for the last one, which is mixed, is a combination of relative and absolute cell reference. And we have two types. We have the row referencing and then the column referencing. Okay, row reference has to do with where you lock the entire row, while for the column reference is where you lock the entire column, right? Now to lock a cell simply means to make it constant, and you need to do that when you find out that operations can no longer follow the formula, which means it's not relative in nature again. You need to lock a particular cell, or you lock a row or a column to bring about that relative cell reference nature. Now let's look at what I'm talking about here. This is obviously called from a HR data set. As you can see, employee names, gross salary, and all the rest of them. So out of this gross salary, we are trying to find out how much is basic salary, housing, transport, and health for every member of this company, as you can see here. So you start with your equal sign, 50% of 800,000, which is the gross salary, then equal to, it gives you 400,000. Ideally, when you autofill, is meant to give you the correct answer, but because the cell is no longer relative in nature, it's not absolute, that is why it didn't give you the right answer. That's why it's flagging an error. So to correct this, you will need to lock this cell E4 where you have the 50%. So you're not saying 50% should go and multiply all these figures here, right? Now let's do it again. So equal sign, 50%. To lock it, you press your F4 button just once. The address becomes $E, $4, right? Meaning that that cell has been locked. Now multiplied by 800,000, and then you hit the enter key. At this instance, when you autofill, it will not flag an error anymore because you have successfully locked this particular cell where you have 50%, right? You can do the same for housing, and now you have equal sign, 20%, let's lock it with F4 just once, multiplied by 800,000, enter, you get 160,000, and then you can autofill, right? you can see we are able to autofill without difficulties because we have learned to lock, right? Now, instead of locking just a single cell and then calculating it one after the other, you can lock the entire row 4, right? When you lock the entire row 4, you'll be able to do it faster. Now let's do it again. Equal sign, 50%. Remember, you want to lock the entire row. To lock the entire row, you press the F4 button 2 times. So let's lock 1, 2. Now the address changes to $4. Now because the dollar symbol is behind 4, it simply means the entire row 4 has been locked. Now let's go ahead, multiply by 800,000 and then enter. You can now autofill, right? And let's see if we can do this. You can now autofill this way and get the answers correct without giving you issues. You can see this is actually faster only because we locked the entire row, right? Now you can even make it faster by using what we call range of cells. To use the range of cells, you highlight all the cells here and then you type in your formula, beginning with the equal sign. Equal sign, 50%, you lock it 2 times, multiplied by 800,000. Now you can equally choose to lock the entire column D by pressing the F4 button 3 times. So to lock an entire column, you press the F4 button 3 times, and then instead of ending it with enter, you use Control Enter. That gives you the entire answer all at once. For some PCs, you may need to use Control Shift Enter. As you can see for mine, Control Enter did it for me. So that's it about the cell reference thing. I believe it's clear. If it is, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned. You will definitely get to see more videos from us. Thank you once again.